of it. I memean, it's just ridiculous, and it's the way they build it up, like it's the end-all, be-all. Meanwhile, you're a weirdo if you care about freedom. You know, I tell folks about the Bill of Rights and Constitution. Sometimes they're like, man, that's kind of weird. And I'm like, well, that's what makes America America.
But we paid $400 million for an arena because they said they were going to have an all-star game here that the city finally was going to be able to.
And now they use it to shut down. Doc Holliday, Big 810 here in Orlando. You're awesome, folks. We're going out to break. Yeah! We're going to be right back. Stay with us with more news. I'm going to get into the UN takeover of the oceans straight ahead. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We were discussing the national security state. By the way, we're back live. Big 810 event, speaking to a capacity crowd here at the Orlando Jai-Alai Center. What is it, the big810am.com? I forget the URL. What's the great radio station's URL? Big810am.com, baby. You folks are awesome. Yeah. And I'm going to be giving a speech and premiering a 40-minute documentary coming up here. And they said, hey, why don't you do your show from there live? So we are doing it here. And I don't know, the weekend Sunday show, 4 to 6 p.m. Central, it has about 67 stations or so picking it up. Weekday show, a little over 100 now, and we're on XM for over 2 years now. And reaching via the internet and everything else together in the podcast and the YouTubes, every week, 15 million people. Again, a testament to the underdog when you've got the truth, when you've got the information, and when you're willing to resist tyranny. And I'm going to be talking about solutions and victories we've had in my speech coming up tonight. Before I get into a big globalist power grab that ties into Agenda 21, it's starting to get a lot of attention because cities all over the country are fighting against UN takeover. Schwarzenegger, whenever he was at the Copenhagen event 2 years ago or so, and they were calling for global governance and global taxes out there with Al Gore and this global treaty. When it failed to get the countries to sign on and waive their sovereignty, see, we moved this mic and that's what's doing that. As I was saying, whenever that started, Schwarzenegger, and you look this up in USA Today, he said, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the counties, cities, and states. And that is the Agenda 21. And we will implement the carbon tax and the sustainable development through your local community. In other words, we'll engage in treason and try to take over your sovereignty from within. He should have his big, fat steroid head locked up. Now, just like Obama should be locked up for saying the UN gives him the authority to blow up countries and not Congress. This is the incredible stuff. So I'm going to get into some of that Agenda 21. But I wanted to talk to Matt from Tampa. He came down here with some folks from We Are Change Tampa, and they're in Pinellas County. Yeah, that's about 1 million people, right at 1 million people. You heard last year they pulled the so-called fluoride, it's really even more deadly than that, out of the water. And they did it with the scientific facts that are out there: 7-fold increase in cancer, hundreds of chemicals in the so-called fluoride, toxic waste, byproduct, Grignard reagents. And they got it removed, and it's happening all over the world when you come forward with the information and keep doing it year after year. So tell folks what it is, why you got involved, and what you and your group did. Go ahead.
Well, basically, we have to thank our Pinellas County Commissioner, Norm Roach, and he was the one that actually got the ball rolling for us. He was wanting to do it as a budget cut. I don't know if they can hear me.
Yeah, they can hear you. I mean, the bigger issue here is, I understand your county commissioner's a great guy. Tell us about fluoride.
All right, well, the problem was they don't even use fluoride. They use what's called hydrofluorosilicic acid. And thanks to Fluoride Free Austin, we got a document from Mosaic that showed that hydrofluorosilicic acid was a poison, and it said right on the poison label that we had in hand, not to ingest. So we asked them why it is that the poison label says not to ingest
What they put in your water has a label saying if you breathe any of this, you're dead.
Yeah, with skull and crossbones, it says right on the label,
but it's
do not
for your
ingest.
baby fluoride baby water. So tell folks what it really is.
Well, it's a waste byproduct. It's hydrofluorosilicic acid, and that's what they actually put into the water. The propaganda is the fluoride, but what they're actually putting in it is waste byproduct and stuff. So they came in there with dentists and ADA people, and they said, that it's for the children, it's for the children. But we showed them the facts and showed them that, the facts are.
By the way,
the
chemical industry on average gives the American Dental Association about $20 million a year.
Oh, yeah.
You know why? Because then cities like Austin pay about $1 million a year for it.
Right.
Imagine how much they're making. They're making billions off selling you toxic waste.
Yeah.
They'd have to pay to store.
No, they use us as human filters, basically, because they can't dump it into the ocean. So the only way they can get rid of it is to use us as human filters.
They dump it in your bones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Loving.
But we did it with budget cuts. We said, why pay for this poison when our budgets are upside down and they're all, in massive debt? So we got it cut out that way. So that's a way for other people to also do it. Bring it. Go to your county commissioners and ask them why you're spending $200,000 of your tax dollars on poison to put in the water.
And again, when that hoax falls, when all the hoaxes fall, they're going down. This shows we're on the march, and it's happening all over the world now.
Right. Well, I'm glad, and I feel healthier already. They took it out on the first, so. Yeah.
You're incredible. But again, it's an example of taking action. Now tell us about your buddy over here. We're going to bring him in there. He says he's got some stuff he wants to say. Come on over here. What's his name?
Chris. He helped me. We worked together on getting the information to the commission and stuff, so I'll let him get on.
All right, Chris, jump in here. Come on in here. We only got a few minutes, but tell folks your whole view on fluoride and the tide getting turned here.
Thank you, Alex. Well, thank you for your help in getting this victory.
You don't need to thank me, brother. I don't want my kids getting poisoned. I want to defeat the enemy. Crush them.
And we shall.
They're a bunch of murdering scum. They're poisoning you. They're the enemy. See who they are. God Almighty.
And we're seeing what's going on. I mean, we have Commissioner Susan Latvala who fought us since 2009. And I need to also thank a friend of mine who couldn't be here today named Frank Hobson, who's been attending these county commission meetings. And this commissioner told both he and I in a private meeting that what Big Phosphate wants, Big Phosphate gets. When I confronted her about this, she tried to sidestep it and tap dance and say...
By the way, they mine most of that in Florida. So they're big here, the phosphate industry.
Absolutely. Most of the phosphate comes from Mosaic Phosphate Mining Company.
Uranium mining as well. That's why there's a lot of uranium in what they put in your water. Oh, what's wrong with uranium?
Well, it says right on the water quality analysis that it's industrial discharge, and it's from, we have alpha, beta photon emitters, and this is discharge.
Good. You mean radiation?
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. And it says...
since I started exposing this in the last decade, they have newscasts. People go look, and they go, we don't know why there's radiation in there. Because the stinking cities are paying to add it.
Yep. Yeah, and we have this Commissioner Latvala, I tell you, when she was confronted by this, she tried to say that, well, what Big Phosphate wants, Big Phosphate gets. It may be in other counties, but not our county.
What they're going to get's a revolution, and they're going to go to prison.
Yes, yep, running scared.
But people's children need photon emitters and radon and uranium. So are you saying uranium's not good for children's teeth?
Well, to those, I would say they need to have a hair, blood, and skin and hair, blood, and nail analysis to see what their long-term exposure is to this toxin. Anybody who's pro-fluoride needs to be asked if they have the courage of their convictions. And while they're at it, they should also test those who they would like to treat the guise of medication. It's not forced medication, it's forced toxification under the guise of medication. And they also have to have their supplementation tested through nutritional blood analysis if they believe it ought to be on the RDA.
And that's my next point. We need to start suing them. When scum like the Austin City Council doesn't remove it, we've had scientists and doctors down there, and 90+% of the EPA's own scientists have gone public saying take it out to Congress. When the mayor and people laugh at us, it's time for lawsuits. They pay to have tons of toxic chemicals. What's the website for We Are Change Tampa?
WeAreChangeTampa.org.
WeAreChangeTampa.org. Our site's Infowars.com. All right, thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for fighting tyranny. All right, we'll be back with Orlando and worldwide. Yeah! Yeah! No more. We're breaking the trance, breaking the hoax. We're awake, and we're coming for you, globalist trash murderers. Yeah! I hear the American people and the people of the world getting angry at tyranny and awakening and saying, we're not your slaves. And the globalists certainly hear that awakening. Zbigniew Brzezinski a few years ago said the world is waking up to the global elites and they're in trouble. His new book says the biggest challenge they face is the awakening to their system. They can't just tell us like we're children, go away, shut up. The New World Order hears you, all of you out there listening on AM, FM, you name it, and they certainly hear the people who are here in Orlando as things fill up to over 1,000 people. Yeah! Here, let them hear you. Man, I love that sound. I've gotten kind of reclusive, except when I occasionally storm the Capitol or go out and do whatever. But I need to get out more. This is fun. I can really feel the energy. It is so good to be here around people that are looking for freedom, looking for liberty, and realize the world's going in the wrong direction. Listen, the world's always going in the wrong direction. It's also going in the right direction always. There's a lot of complex things happening in our world. And it's always up to good people versus bad people who is going to direct the direction of society. And we're simply here saying, hey, we've let you little central banker experts run things long enough. And now you're not just going to be able to pat us on the head and have us shut up. We're awake, we're staring, and we're gathering data, and we're getting more information, and we're reaching out to others, and we are coming for the New World Order, period. I would take calls today, but all the radio audience, is hearing is me talking and people cheering, and then because it would feed back, we're not running the feed of the audio out to this big auditorium so that you would not be able to hear the callers. And as a triple whammy, we have a special phone number for the Sunday show, and I haven't even memorized that the last 6 years giving it out. I guess because they changed it a few months ago, that's probably why. But I probably should write that number down and give it out and take a few calls. And I know there was probably a few other people I might want to get on air if they want to come on with us. But I'd actually have to go over there and talk to some of the other talk show hosts during the break, because I only talked to a few people before I went live here on air. And I've got all this other news here in front of me. We've got a comical video I did. French bulldogs caught working for Al-CIA, and trust no one but our loving government is the sub-headline of that video. Also, a biometric, biocratic feeding frenzy. Economists and biologists weigh in. This is a point I want to raise right now. I saw some really incredible news Friday and forgot to cover it for whatever reason, because I've covered it so much in the past. It's now come to fruition. But I've covered it so much in the past that even though now it's a big news story, I didn't cover it, but I want to cover it right now. And that's something I'm going to talk about in my speech more tonight, is real threats facing humanity. We defeat the New World Order by realizing just how crazy and out of control they are. It's not just that they're dictatorial people, they also aren't really in control. They're able to blow stuff up, take over, dominate, but they're not really in control of everything. They're trying to get in control of everything, but they're not even in control of themselves. And the U.S. government has decided, with major U.S. universities, to go ahead and start publishing all of the weaponized bird flu, weaponized airborne Ebola, weaponized, you name it, all of the hundreds of different variants of flu, Ebola, all sorts of other nasties. They're going to start publishing how they made it. This is all in defense, of course. Hundreds and hundreds of level 4 bioweapons facilities under the BioShield program, but it's under defense, kind of like bombing Libya is defense, or not even defense, it's peace. It's better than defense. It's not even defending yourself. It's not even violence to drop a 2,000-pound bomb on an apartment building. So it's not war. It's defense research to create, quote, thousands of gallons of liquid death. That was the Baltimore Sun many years ago when they first launched this latest phase in 2002. The latest then, they just launched another one last year to build more of these. And they put level 4 bioweapons labs in level 2 facilities where you just wear a mask and do a swipe card. And they're on the coastlines like Galveston, Texas. I've talked a lot about that. But now, it was like 6-7 years ago, U.S.